crap, I had the wrong BGM. Fuyuno Kazuki です。And welcome everyone to today's creepypasta reading stream. Very impromptu, but we do impromptu around these parts. Right. Then let me switch up my BGM. Okay. Now let's decide which creepypasta to read. Now we can either go for the top rank. Let's see, top ranked. All ratings 10, 10. Oh, there's only a few, only 10s, only 3 that are 10s. Then the famous ones. I think I know a few of these. Okay, Candle Clove 2009. It's pretty old. It's quite classic. So let's start with the classics first. Let's see. Eyeless Jack, Get Rid of the Mind. Oh, this is another classic as well, I think. He Who Should... Oh wait, these are all the classics. So let's go to top ranked. And let's just pick a random one here. Ben Drowned. Right. Beings and entities, deaths, murders, and this is like the categories it is considered in. Holy shit, it's Link. No, it's... Wait, is it Link? Yeah, it's Link. Okay. Finally, wait. Is there no summary? I guess a summary for horror creepypasta is pretty stupid. You'll spoil yourself. Okay, focus. Finally, after a long day, you get a moment to yourself. You take a deep breath, sigh out the weight of the day's pressures, and collapse onto a beanbag, lifting the controller to load up a game and enjoy some much needed escapism. This time, however, escape might not be so easy. This time, you have loaded up an old retro game that you bought from a garage sale, a lesser known offshoot from a well-known game franchise that you've always had a soft spot for. Unfortunately though, you are clearly not the only person who had affection for this game, or even the only one exploring the game's pixelated reality, because on the game's leaderboard, another name, the name of the game's previous owner, flashes brilliantly. This previous owner has left his mark on the game, but has not necessarily left. As you continue with the gameplay, glitches begin to appear, operations and scenarios that shouldn't begin to unfold, and increasingly you get the feeling that although it is your hands on the controller, it is you who is being controlled. Suddenly the screen changes. An oddly discordant tune, warped by the slow drag of playing backwards, rings out from the speakers, and a face that once familiar and somehow changed appears on the screen. As long crimson streaks of fresh blood drip from the eye sockets to the face. Is this a correct sentence right here? Staring forever outwards seems to see without seeing, staring at you, through you, into you. It is at this point you begin to realize you shouldn't have done that. Oh, wait, is this a review? This is a review. Oh wait. Oh, okay. This is a summary. It's a very okay. And this is the review and the history. This is the actual creepypasta right here. Okay. Okay. Well, let's start. Okay, imagebot X. I need your help with this. This is not copypasta, this is a long read, but I feel like my safety or well-being could very well depend on this. This is video game related, specifically Majora's Mask, and I've actually never played Majora's Mask. Well, I've never even actually played any The Legend of Zelda game. But don't tell anyone. This is the creepiest shit that has ever happened to me in my entire life. Having said that, I recently moved into my dorm room, starting as a sophomore in college, and a friend of mine gave me his old Nintendo 64 to play. I was stoked, to say the least. I could finally play all of these old games of my youth that I hadn't touched in at least a decade. His Nintendo 64 came with one yellow controller and a rather shoddy copy of Super Smash Bros. And while beggars can't be choosers, needless to say, it didn't take long until I became bored of beating up level 9 CPUs. That weekend, I decided to drive around a few neighborhoods about 20 minutes or so off campus, hitting up the local garage sales, hoping to score on some good deals from ignorant parents. I ended up picking up a copy of Pokemon Stadium, GoldenEye, fuck yeah, F-Zero, and 2 other controllers for $2. $2, wow. What time period is this? Satisfied, I began to drive out of the neighborhood when one last house caught my attention. Well, I've never actually seen a garage. Well, this is different culture, so maybe garage sales are much more common there. I still have no idea why it did. There were no other cars there, and why it did? Oh, the house. Why the house caught his attention. There were no cars there, and only one table was set up with random junk on it, but something sort of drew me there. I usually trust my gut on these things, so I got out of the car and I was greeted by an old man. His outward appearance was, for lack of a better word, displeasing. It was odd. If you asked me to tell you why I thought he was displeasing, I couldn't really pinpoint anything. There was just something about him that put me on edge. I can't explain it. All I can tell you is that if it wasn't in the middle of the afternoon, there were other people within shouting distance, and there were other people within shouting distance, I would not have even thought of approaching this man. He flashed a crooked smile at me and asked what I was looking for, and immediately I noticed that he must be blind in one of his eyes. His right eye had that glazed over look about it. I forced myself to look to his left eye instead, trying not to offend, and asked him if he had any old video games. I was already wondering how I could politely excuse myself from the situation when he would tell me he had no idea what a video game was, but to my surprise he said he had a few ones in an old box. He assured me he'd be back in a jiffy, and turned to head back into the garage. As I watched him hobble away, I couldn't help but notice what he was selling on his table. Littered across his table were rather peculiar paintings, various artworks that looked like ink blots that a psychiatrist might show you. Curious, I looked through them. It was obvious why no one was visiting this guy's garage sale. These weren't exactly aesthetically pleasing. As I came to the last one, for some reason it looked almost like Majora's Mask. The same heart-shaped body with little spikes protruding outward. Initially, I just thought that since I was secretly hoping to find that game at these garage sales, some Freudian bullshit was projecting itself into the ink plots. But given the events that happened afterward, I'm not so sure now. I should have asked the man about it. I wish I would have asked the man about it. After staring at the Majora-shaped plot, I looked up and the old man was suddenly there again, arm's length, in front of me, smiling at me. I'll admit I jumped out of reflex and I laughed nervously as he handed me a Nintendo 64 cartridge. It was the standard grey color, except that someone had written Majora on it in black permanent marker. I got butterflies in my stomach as I realized what a coincidence this was, and asked him how much he wanted for it. The old man smiled at me and told me that I could have it for free, that it used to belong to a kid who was about my age that didn't live here anymore. There was something weird about how the man phrased that, but I didn't really pay any attention to then. I was too caught up in not only finding this game, but getting it for free. How much does it even cost to buy it, like, used, or like just burn it on a ROM cartridge? Surely it isn't that it's much less of a hassle than dealing with a shady guy. Well, this isn't copypasta, he said it himself, right here. So it must be true, right? I reminded myself to be a bit skeptical since this looked like a pretty shady cartridge and there's no guarantee it would work. But then the optimist inside me interjected that maybe it was some kind of beta version or pirated version of the game, and that was all I needed to be back on Cloud 9. I thanked the man, and the man smiled at me and wished me well, saying goodbye then. At least that's what it sounded like to me. All the way in the car ride home, I had a nagging doubt that the man had said something else. My fears were confirmed when I booted up the game. To my surprise, it worked just fine. And there was one save file named simply Ben. Goodbye, Ben. He was saying goodbye, Ben. I felt bad for the man, obviously a grandparent and obviously going senile, and I, for some reason or another, reminded him of his grandson, Ben. Out of curiosity, I looked at the save file, eyeballing, and I could tell that he was pretty far in the game. He had almost all of the mask and 3/4 remains of the bosses. He had almost all of the mask and 3/4 remains of the bosses. I don't know what this means. I don't know what this means. I don't play Majora's Mask. I noticed that he had used an owl statue to save his game. He was on day 3 and by the Stone Tower Temple, with hardly an hour left before the moon would crash. Spoilers. Though not really. I think almost everyone knows what kind of game Majora's Mask is. I mean, just searching the name will show you the moon, the angry moon. Wait, hold on, let me drink some water. Ocha nomimasu. Where was I? I remember thinking that it was a shame that he had come so close to beating the game, but he never finished it. I made a new file named Link out of tradition and started the game, ready to relive my childhood. For such a shady looking game cartridge, I was impressed at how smoothly it ran. Literally just like a retail copy of the game, save for a few minor hiccups here and there, like textures being where they shouldn't be, random flashes of cutscenes at odd intervals, but nothing too bad. However, the only thing that was a little unnerving was that at times the NPCs would call me Link, and at other times they would call me Ben. I figured it was just a bug, a fluke in the programming causing our files to get mixed up or something. Hello Nyakura, welcome. I'm currently reading this creepypasta named Ben Drowned. It's about this college student finding a copy of Majora's Mask at a shady garage sale, and he's playing it right now at this point. Where was I? Bye, Ben. Here. Wait, no, I was not here. Alright, here. It did kind of creep me out, though, after a while, and was around after I had beaten the Woodfall Temple that I regrettably went into the save files and deleted Ben. I had intended to preserve the file just out of respect of the game's original owner. It's not like I needed 2 files anyway. Hoping that would solve the problem. It did, and it didn't. Now NPCs wouldn't call me anything, where my name should be in the dialogue. There was just a blank space. My save file name was still called Link though. Frustrated and with homework to do, I put the game down for a day. Wait, hold on. Let me... Why is the chat not showing on my screen? Paste. Okay. It was working so fine just now when I tested it. Okay, never mind. let's move on. I started playing the game again last night, getting the lens of truth and working my way towards completing the Snowhead Temple. Now, some of you more hardcore Majora's Mask players know about the 4th day glitch. For those who don't know, you can... wait, I think I've heard of this before. It's like some kind of a... what was it? A shortcut where you can only clear the game, try to clear the game in the first day or something. First 4 days. For those who don't, you can Google it, but the gist of it is that right as the clock is about to hit 000000 on the final day, you talk to the astronomer and look through the telescope. If you time it right, the countdown disappears and you essentially have another day to finish whatever you're doing. Deciding to do the glitch to try and finish the Snowhead Temple, I happened to get it right on the first try, and the time counter at the bottom disappeared. However, when I pressed B to exit the telescope, instead of being greeted by the astronomer, I found myself in the Majora Boss fight room at the end of the game, the triple boxed in arena, staring at Skull Kid hovering above me. There was no sound, just him floating in the air above me, and the background music, which was regular for the area, but still creepy. Immediately my palms began to sweat. This was definitely not normal. Skull Kid never appeared here. I tried moving around the area, and no matter where I went, Skull Kid will always be facing me, looking at me, not saying anything. Nothing will happen though, and this kept up for around 60 seconds. I thought the game had bugged or something, but I was beginning to doubt that very much. I was about to reach for the reset button when the text appeared on my screen. You're not sure why, but you apparently had a reservation. I instantly recognized that text. You get that message when you get the room key from Andrew at the Stockport Inn, but why was it playing here? I refused to entertain the notion that it was almost as if the game was trying to communicate with me. I started navigating the room again, testing to see if there was some sort of trigger that enabled me to interact with something here. Then I realized how stupid I was. To even think that someone could reprogram the game like this was absurd. Sure enough, 15 seconds later, another message appeared on the screen. And again, like the first one, it was already a pre-existing phrase. Go to the lair of the temple's boss. Yes, no. I paused for a second, contemplating what I should press and how the game would react, and I realized that I couldn't select no. Taking a deep breath, I pressed yes and the screen faded to white with the words, Dawn of a New Day, with the subtext, line beneath it. Where I was spotted to filled me with the most intense sense of dread and impending fear I had ever experienced. The only way I can describe the way I felt here was having this feeling of inexplicable depression on a profound scale. I'm normally not a depressed person, but the way I felt here was a feeling that I didn't even know knew existed. It was such a twisted, powerful presence that seemed to wash over me. I appeared in some kind of weird Twilight Zone version of Clocktown. I walked out of the clock tower, as you normally would when you start from day one, only to find that all of the inhabitants were gone. Usually with the 4th day glitch, you can still find the guards and the dog that runs around the tower. This time they were all gone. What placed them was the ominous feeling that there was something out there, in the same area as me, and that was watching me. I had four hearts to my name, and the hero's bow, but at this point I wasn't even considered for my avatar. I felt that I personally was in some kind of danger. Perhaps the most chilling thing was the music. It was the song of healing, ripped straight from the game itself, but played in reverse. The music will get louder, building up so as if you should expect something to pop out at you, but nothing ever did, and the constant loop began to wear on my mental state. Every now and then I would hear the faint laugh of the happy mask salesman in the background, just quiet enough so that I wasn't sure if I was just hearing things, but just loud enough to keep me determined to fight him. I looked in all 4 zones of Clocktown, only to find nothing. No one. Textures were missing. West Clocktown had been walking on air. The entire area felt broken. Hopelessly broken. As the reverse song... Oops, hold on. As the reverse song of healing repeated for what must have been the 50th time, I just remember standing in the middle of South Clock Town, realizing that I had never felt so alone in a video game before. As I walked through the ghost town, I don't know whether it was the combination of the out-of-place textures or and the atmosphere and the haunting melody of the once peaceful and soothing song being butchered and distorted. But I was literally on the verge of tears and I had no idea why. I hardly ever cry. Something had gripped me here, in this powerful sense of depression that was both foreign and crippling. I tried leaving Clocktown, but every time I attempted to zone out, the screen would fade to black and I would just zone into another part of Clocktown. I tried playing my ocarina. I wanted to escape, and I did not want to be here, but every time I played the Song of Time or Song of Soaring, it would only say, "Your notes echo far," but nothing happens. By this point, it was obvious the game didn't want me to leave, but I had no idea why it was keeping me here. I didn't want to go inside the buildings. I felt that I would be too vulnerable there to whatever I was terrified of. I don't know why, but I came up with the idea that maybe if I drowned myself at the laundry pool, I could spawn somewhere else and leave this place. Oh, alright, let me get this going first before we proceed. Oh, it works. Okay. Let me just adjust it first. Nice, okay. Right, chat's back. I had to re-add the source. Somehow the previous source that I had prepared didn't work. And then, well, I tried to multitask reading and adding the source at the same time, but I guess it kind of backfired there. Alright, oh, where was I? Here, right? Alright, if you look, I can... Let's see, Creepypasta. If you look at this over here, it's so much more to go. Maybe I should have gone for classic, but I'm in deep already. I'm not gonna stop now. As I zoned in and ran towards the pool, that's when it happened. Link grabbed his head, and the screen flashed for a brief moment of the happy masked salesman smiling at me. Not Link. Me with Skull's Kid's scream playing in the background, and when the screen returned, I was staring at the Link statue from playing the song of Elegy of Emptiness. I screamed as the thing just stared back at me with that haunting facial expression. I turned around and ran out and back into South Clock Town. And to my horror, the fucking statue followed me in the only way I can compare. This is like the weeping angels from Doctor Who. Every so often, at random intervals, the animation would play of the statue appearing behind me. It was like the thing was chasing me. Or, I don't even want to fucking say it, haunting me. By this point, I was on the verge of hysterics, but not even once did the thought of turning off the console occur to me. I don't know why, I was so wrapped up in it. The terror felt all so real. I tried to shake the statue, but it would literally appear right behind me every single time. Link started to begin to make weird animations I had never even seen him do before. He would flail his arms around or spasm randomly, and the screen would cut to the happy masked salesman smiling again for a brief moment before I was face to face with that fucking statue again. I ended up running into the Sword Master's dojo and ran to the back. I don't know why, but in my panic I just wanted some kind of assurance that I'm not alone here. To my dismay, I found no one, but as I turned to leave, the statue cornered me in the cubby of the back. I tried attacking the statue with my sword, but to no avail. Confused and back into a corner, I just stared at the statue, waiting for it to kill me. Suddenly, the screen flashed again to the happy mask salesman, and Link turned to face my screen. Standing upright, mirroring the statue, looking at me along with his copy, literally staring at me. Whatever was left of the fourth wall was completely shattered while I ran out of the dojo, terrified. Suddenly, the game brought me into an underground tunnel, and the reverse song of healing queued up again as I was given a brief moment of rest before the statue started appearing behind me again, this time aggressively. I could only take a few steps before it was summoned behind me again. I hurriedly made my way out of the tunnel and appeared in the southern clock town. As I ran aimlessly in a sheer panic, suddenly a redhead screamed, and the screen faded to black as dawn of a new day, and a bunch of lines appeared again. The screen faded in, and I was standing on top of Clock Tower, with Skull Kid hovering over me again, silent. I looked up and the moon was back, looming just meters above my head. But the Skull Kid was just stared at me hauntingly with that fucking mask. A new song was playing, the Stone Tower Temple theme played in reverse. In some sort of desperate attempt, I quit my bow and fired off a shot at Skull Kid. And it actually hit him, and he played an animation of him reeling back. I fired again, and on the third arrow a text box appeared saying, "That won't do you any good. Hehe." And I was picked up off the ground, levitated upwards on my back, and then Link screamed as he burst into flames, instantly killing him. I jumped when this happened. I had never seen this move used by anyone in the game, and Skull Kid himself didn't have any moves. As the death screen played, my lifeless body still burning, the Skull Kid laughed and the screen faded to black, only to have him reappear in the same place. I decided to charge him, but the same thing happened. Link's body was lifted off the ground by some unknown force, and he immediately burst into flames again, killing him. This time, during the death screen, the faint sounds of the reverse song of healing could be heard. On my third and final try, I noticed that there was no music playing this time. That all there was the eerie silence. I remembered that in the original encounter with the Skull Kid, it was supposed to use the ocarina to either travel back in time or summon. Oh shit. I just spoiled. Is this. Did I just spoil myself with this? Uh-oh. Uh-oh. I attempted to play the Song of Time before I could hit the last note. Link's body once again horrifically exploded into flames and he died. You know what? In a way, I can't get into it because I have no idea about anything The Legend of Zelda. I've never played any Legend of Zelda game, so even with his descriptions, I don't know how to picture the scene. So, and are all the copypastas around this length? Let's see. I think we can go to the classics. Let's see. I know the Gateway of the Mind. Sounds a classic. How long is this? It looks to be around the same length. Yep. Alright, let's check Candle Cove. Candle Cove is another classic. Oh, this is kind of longer. Wait, but this is... Oh, this is under the famous creepypastas. But I can't relate to it, sadly, so... I mean... I'm supposed to read it, but... I can't put anything. I can just pretend to only know how it feels like. Candlejack. Herobrine. It's funny. Let's see. Jeff the Killer. It's the classics. Whoo, that face. Oh my, this is insanely long. This is not that long, but it's still long. This is reasonably I guess it's around the same length as being drowned. Let's see. Wait, where is it? Are these all just comments? Wait, let me scroll all the way down. These are all just comments, okay. Wait, so is this the same for... Okay, I'm here. Okay, no, this is actually just long. And there's no comments. What about Candle Cove? Oh, the comment... Oh, right. Okay, the comments just end there. Okay, and it's... Oh, the comments also just end there. Damn, how long has been drowned? Okay, I guess we'll read the short classics first. Where does it end? It just ends here. Okay. Right here. This isn't that long as well, right? Yep. Dude, 2017 comment? Oh no, I doxed the name. Alright, let's read the short classics first. Start with the one that I opened first. Oh, the face though. Overview and synopsis. Appearance and origins, photos and folklore. Where's the actual copy? Oh, yeah. So here, right here. I guess this is quite short. Okay. In 1983, the team... Oh wait, where I have to see the OBS screen as well. My bad. In 1983, a team of deeply pious scientists conducted a radical experiment in an undisclosed facility. The scientists had theorized that a human without access to any senses or ways to perceive stimuli would be able to perceive the presence of God. They believed that the five senses clouded our awareness of eternity, and without them, a human could actually establish contact with God by thought. An elderly man who claimed to have nothing left to live for was the only test subject to volunteer. To purge him of all his senses, the scientists performed a complex operation in which every sensory nerve connection to the brain was surgically severed. Although the test subject retained full muscular function, he could not see, hear, taste, smell, or feel. With no possible way to communicate with or even sense the outside world, he was alone with his thoughts. Scientists monitored him as he spoke aloud about his state of mind in jumbled, slurred sentences that he couldn't even hear. After 4 days, the man claimed to be hearing hushed, unintelligible voices in his head. Assuming it was an onset of psychosis, the scientists paid little attention to the man's concerns. 2 days later, the man cried that he could hear his dead wife speaking with him, and even more, he could communicate back. The scientists were intrigued, but were not convinced until the subject started naming dead relatives of the scientists. He repeated personal information to the scientists that only their dead spouses and parents would have known. At this point, a sizable portion of scientists left the study. Whoa. After a week of conversing with the deceased through his thoughts, the subject became distressed, saying the voices were overwhelming. In every waking moment, his consciousness was bombarded by hundreds of voices that refused to leave him alone. He frequently threw himself against the wall, trying to elicit a pain response. He begged the scientists for sedatives, so he could escape the voices by sleeping. This tactic worked for 3 days, until he started having severe night terrors. The subject repeatedly said that he could see and hear the deceased in his dreams. Only a day later, the subject began to scream and claw at his non-functional eyes, hoping to sense something in the physical world That sounds painful. The hysterical subject now said the voices of the dead were deafening and hostile, speaking of hell and the end of the world. At one point he yelled, "No heaven, no forgiveness." He yelled. I don't think I want to yell right now. For 5 hours straight, he continually begged to be killed, but the scientists were convinced that he was close to establishing contact with God. After another day, the subject could no longer form coherent sentences. Seemingly mad, he started to bite off chunks of flesh from his arm. The scientists rushed into the test chamber and restrained him to a table so he could not kill himself. After a few hours of being tied down, the subject halted his struggling and screaming. He stared blankly at the ceiling as teardrops silently streaked across his face. For 2 weeks, the subject had to be manually rehydrated due to the constant crying. Eventually, he turned his head and, despite his blindness, made focused eye contact with a scientist for the first time in the study. He whispered, "I have spoken with God, and He has abandoned us." And his vital signs stopped. There was no apparent cause of death. Well, I'm pretty sure you can die from having too much, like, you can die from a nervous shock. I know that is a thing, so maybe it's like kind of a nervous shock, and also, I mean, he tried to bite off his own arm. That probably affected as well. Oh, okay. Supposedly a real life experiment. Alright, German sleep experiment. That's another one of the famous copypastas. Wow, just wow. I don't know why, but I find this comment extremely funny. It was a god story. For the weirdos who would believe it. I mean, if it's posted on a creepypasta website, you gotta know something's up, right? It's the same thing as if you post on our no sleep. I mean, you gotta know if it's, yeah. I mean, okay, well, most of the origins of the old ones are from other forums like 4chan and like maybe probably like other personal blogs or forums. So it may or may not be, I mean, it's probably not true. I mean, not probably, almost definitely not true, but who knows? As the saying goes, reality is stranger than fiction. Is that a saying? No, that I wanted to refer to another saying. Fiction, I mean, it goes along something like fiction has rules to follow while reality doesn't. Reality is strange. Okay. Moving on, we have the Candle Cove creepypasta. The overview. It's a widely known and popular creepypasta about a fictional television series recollected by a number of posters on childhood nostalgia forum. Honestly, I don't even know. The only reason I know about Candle Cove is because of this creepypasta. It's probably not a here thing. It's probably a is it a Western thing? I don't know. All I know is that the only reason I know it is because of this creepypasta. Alright. Net Nostalgia Forum Television Local. Sky Shield. Alright, this is in the form of a forum message board. Was in the form of a message board, right? Yeah, Net Nostalgia Forum Television Local. Sky Shield 023 is probably the poster. Subject: Candle Cove Local Kids Show. Does anyone remember this kids show? It was called Candle Cove, and I must have been 6 or 7. I never found a reference to it anywhere, so I think it was on a local station around 1971 or 1972. I lived in Ironton at the time. I don't remember which station, but I do remember it was on at a weird time, like 4 PM. Mike Painter, 65. It seems familiar to me. I grew up outside of Ashland. I was 9 years old. You were 9 years old in 72. What is that age now? Okay, 72 plus 28. That is 28 plus 21 is 49. 49 plus 9 is 58. 58. If Mike Painter was 72. If Mike Painter was 9 in 72. Damn. At least I'm not that old. Okay. Candle Cove. Was it about pirates? I remember a pirate marionette at the mouth of a cave talking to a little girl. Yes, okay, I'm not crazy. I remember Pirate Percy. I was always kind of scared of him. He looked like he was built from parts of other dolls. Real low budget. His head was an old porcelain baby doll, looked like an antique that didn't belong on the body. I don't remember what station this was. I don't think it was WTSF though. WTSF. Sorry to resurrect this old thread, but I know exactly what you mean. Sky Shield. Sky Shield, okay. If only the names were color-coded, or at least a different font, so it's easier to like pick out the names, okay. I think Candle Cove ran for only a couple months in 71, not 72. I was 12. Oh, so you're 3 years older than that, which means you're 61. And I watched it a few times with my brother. It was channel 58, whatever station that was. My mom would let me switch to it after the news. Let me see what I remember. It took place in Candle Cove, and it was about a little girl who imagined herself to be friends with pirates. The pirate ship was called the Laughingstock, and Pirate Percy wasn't a very good pirate because he got scared too easily. And there was Calliope. Calliope? Yo, what? Not gonna say anything else. And there was Calliope music constantly playing. Don't remember the girl's name. Janice or Jade or something. I think it was Janice. Thank you, Jaren. Memories flooded back when you mentioned the Laughingstock on channel 58. I remember the bow of the ship was a wooden smiling face with the lower jaw submerged. Wooden smiling face. The lower jaw submerged. So it's like that. But it's like, this is the water, okay. It looked like it was swallowing the sea, and it had that awful Ed Wine voice and laugh. I especially remember how jarring it was when they switched from the wooden plastic model to the foam puppet version of the head that talked. Haha, I remember now too. Do you remember this part, Skyshield? You have to go inside. Ugh, I got a chill reading that. Yes, I remember. That's what the ship always told Percy when there was a spooky place he had to go in, like a cave or a dark room where the treasure was. And the camera would push in on Laughingstock's face with each pause. You have to go inside. I'm assuming that's the voice, I don't know. With his 2 eyes askew and that flopping foam jaw, and the fishing line that opened and closed it. Ugh, it just looks so cheap and awful. You guys remember the villain? He had a face that was just a handlebar mustache above really tall, narrow teeth. He had a face that was just a handlebar mustache. Say, okay, I'm going to draw it right here. All narrow teeth, so it's like that. All narrow teeth, and then the mustache. That's not a face. That's not a face. Come on, man. That's not a face. I honestly thought the villain was Pirate Percy. I was about 5 when this show was on. Nightmare fuel. That wasn't the villain, the puppet with the mustache. That was the villain's sidekick, Horace Horrible. He had a monocle too, but it was on top of the mustache. I used to think that he meant he had only one eye. But yeah, the villain was another marionette, the Skin Taker. I can't believe what they let us watch back then. Jesus H. Christ. The Skin Taker. What kind of a kids show were you watching? I seriously could not look at the screen when the Skin Taker showed up. He just descended out of nowhere on his strings. Just a dirty skeleton wearing that brown top hat and caps. Wait, brown top hat and cape. and his glass eyes that were too big for his skull. Christ almighty. Wasn't his top hat and cloak all sewn up crazily? Was that supposed to be a children's skin? Yeah, I think so. Remember his mouth didn't open up and close? His jaw just slid back and forth. I remember the little girl said, "Why does your mouth move like that?" And the skin taker didn't look at the girl but at the camera and said, "To grind your skin." I'm so relieved that other people remember this terrible show. I used to have this awful memory, a bad dream I had where the opening jingle ended. The show faded in from black, and all the characters were there, but the camera was just cutting to each of their faces. And they were just screaming, and the puppets and marionettes were flailing spastically, and just all screaming. The girl was just moaning and crying like she had been through hours of this. I woke up many times from that nightmare. I used to wet the bed when I had it. I don't think that was a dream. I remember that. I remember that was an episode. No, not possible. There was no plot or anything. I mean, literally just standing in place crying and screaming for the whole show. Maybe I'm manufacturing the memory because you said that, but I swear to God, I remember seeing what you described. They just screamed. Wait, Kevin Hart? You watched this show, Kevin Hart? Has he been in... Oh, he has been in a conversation. Alright. Yeah, I wasn't really reading the usernames. Maybe I should. So this is his intro. I think that's Kevin Hart's intro. Oh god, yes, the little girl, Janice. I remember seeing her shake, and the skin taker screaming through his gnashing teeth. His jaw careening so wildly I thought it would come off its wire hinges. I turned it off and it was the last time I watched. I went to tell my brother and we didn't have the courage to turn it back on. I visited my mom today at the nursing home. I asked her about it when I was a little in the early 70s, when I was 8 or 9, and if she remembered the kids show, Candle Cove. She said she was surprised I could remember that, and I asked why, and she said, "Because I used to think it was so strange that you said, 'I'm gonna go watch Candle Cove now, Mom,' and then you would tune the TV to static and just watch dead air for 30 minutes. You had a big imagination with your little pirate show." Oh, I don't remember this twist. Holy shit, okay. That is it's kinda scary. In a modern update, wait, what? I see, oh damn. This reveal right here. It's basically like honestly, I can't even think of something to compare it with. But you know what I'm talking about. At the end of the show, it shows like a reveal where it just turns it just flips the narrative of the whole text and just forces you to think about what everything up to this point happened in a different way. Okay. Jeff the Killer. Was Jeff the... wait, let's see what else there is. Famous. 1999. Okay. At least it's not like 1972 from the Candle Cove thing. Oh, hold on, let me drink water. Tadaima. Okay, 19. Oh, is this a long one? Yeah, it is a long one. It's probably around... it's slightly shorter than Bend Round, I think. So it's still pretty long. When there's a table of contents, you know it's pretty long. Oh, wait, what? April 99 to August 1999. And then there's... what? something to add to the canon from 2009 to 2011. What's this? The DLC? Come on, man. If it's a one-shot, it's a one-shot. You don't have to expand on the universe anymore. That's how you get crappy side stories of games or anime that you love. And then you just watch as the side stories go to shit. I mean, I could, even if I say that, I can't really bring up anything that I feel went that way. Wait, how long is this? Is there a table of contents? Okay, this is pretty short. Let's organize the tabs up here. What are short stories? Ben Drown is pretty long. Clockwork, your time is up. Is this one long? Okay, this one isn't that bad. It's... Okay, it's not that bad. It's kind of long, but it's not that long. Dead Bart. It's the ones that aren't like super old that are long. Overview, table of contents. Okay, this is pretty short as well. Gateway of the mind, here comes, he comes. Forgive the length of this message. Okay, this message isn't that long. He who should really not be named. Herobrine. I can't take this Herobrine seriously. I mean, I played Minecraft back in 2011, 2012. At that point of time, I guess Herobrine wasn't a thing anymore, or maybe I just didn't get into the whole scene of Herobrine haunting. But I remember playing that Minecraft in beta, making a castle that I thought was super epic, but turns out, I mean, if you compare the building meta of 2021 with 2011, it just blows everything out of the water. Okay, let's start from Jeff the Killer. Excerpt from a local newspaper. Ominous unknown killer is still at large. After weeks of unexplained murders, the ominous unknown killer is still on the rise. After little evidence has been found, a young boy states that he survived one of the killer's attacks and bravely tells his story. I had a bad dream and I woke up in the middle of the night, says the boy. I saw that for some reason the window was open, even though I remember it being closed before I went to bed. I got up and shut it once more. Afterwards, I simply crawled under my covers and tried to get back to sleep. That's when I had a strange feeling, like something was watching me. I looked up and nearly jumped off my bed. There, in the little ray of light, illuminating from between my curtains, were a pair of two eyes. These weren't regular eyes. Wait, am I supposed to read the backstory? Okay. No, let's keep it vanilla. Let's not read any backstories right here. I looked up. These weren't regular eyes. They were dark, ominous eyes. They were bordered in black and just plain out terrified me. That's when I saw his mouth, a long, horrendous smile that made every hair on my body stand up. The figure stood there, watching me. Finally, after what seemed like forever, he said it. A simple phrase, but said in a way only a madman could speak. He said, "Go to sleep." I let out a scream. That's what sent him at me. He pulled up a knife, aiming at my heart. He jumped on top of my bed. I fought him back. I kicked, I punched, I rolled around, trying to knock him off me. That's when my dad busted in. The man threw the knife. It went to my dad's shoulder. The man probably would finish him off if one of the neighbors hadn't alerted the police. They drove into the parking lot and ran towards the door. The man turned and ran down the hallway. I heard a smash like glass breaking. As I came out of my room, I saw the window that was pointing towards the back of my house, and it was broken. I looked out to it to see him vanish into the distance. I could tell you one thing. I will never forget that face. Those cold, evil eyes, and that psychotic smile. They will never leave my head. Police are still on the look for this man. If you see anyone that fits the description in this story, please contact your local police department. Jeff and his family had just moved into a new neighborhood. His dad had gotten a promotion at work, and they thought it would be best to live in one of these fancy neighborhoods. Oh, this is Jeff. Jeff and his brother Liu couldn't complain though. A new, better house. What was not to love? As they were getting unpacked, one of the neighbors came by. "Hello," she said. "I'm Barbara. I live across the street from you. Well, I just wanted to introduce myself and to introduce my son." She turns around and calls her son over. "Billy, these are our new neighbors." Billy said hi and went back to play in his yard. "Well," said Jeff's mom, "I'm Margaret. Margaret? I'm sorry. And this is my husband Peter. And my two sons, Jeff and Liu." They each introduced themselves, and then Barbara invited them to her son's birthday. Jeff and his brother were about to object when their mother said that they would love to. When Jeff and his family are done packing, Jeff went up to his mom. "Mom, why would you invite us to some kid's party? If you haven't noticed, I'm not some dumb kid." "Jeff," said his mother, "we just moved here. We should show that we want to spend our time with our neighbors. Now, we're going to that party, and that's final." Jeff started to talk, but stopped himself, knowing that he couldn't do anything. Whenever his mom said something, it was final. He walked up to his room and plopped down his bed. He sat there looking at his ceiling when suddenly he got a weird feeling. Not so much pain, but a weird feeling. He dismissed it as just some random feeling. He heard his mother call him down to get his stuff, and he walked down to get it. The next day, Jeff walked downstairs to get breakfast and got ready for school. As he sat there, eating his breakfast, he once again got that feeling. This time it was stronger. It gave him a slight tugging pain, but he once again dismissed it. As he and Liu finished breakfast, they walked down to the bus stop. They sat there waiting for the bus, and then, all of a sudden, some kid on a skateboard jumped over them, only inches above their laps. They both jumped back in surprise. "Hey, what the hell?" The kid landed and turned back to them. He kicked his skateboard up and caught it with his hands. The kid seems to be about 12, 1 year younger than Jeff. He wears an Aeropostale shirt and ripped blue jeans. Well. Wait, am I supposed to do a kid voice here? Well. It looks like we got some new meat." Suddenly, the other two other kids appeared. One was super skinny and the other was huge. "Well, since you're new here, I'd like to introduce ourselves. Over there is Keith." Jeff and Liu looked over to the skinny kid. He had a dopey face that you would expect a sidekick to have. Why do I find this funny? "And here's Troy." They looked over at the fat kid. Talk about the Tower of Lard. This kid looked like he hadn't exercised since he was crawling. "And I," said the first kid, "am Randy. Now, for all the kids in this neighborhood, there's a small price for bus fare, if you catch my drift." Liu stood up, ready to punch the lights out of the kid's eyes, when one of his friends pulled a knife on him. This. I had hoped you would be more cooperative, but it seems you must do this the hard way." The kid walked up to Liu and took his wallet out of his pocket. What? You just let him do that? Come on. Jeff got that feeling again. Now it was truly strong, a burning sensation. He stood up, but Liu gestured him to sit down. Jeff ignored him and walked to the kid. "Listen here, little punk. Give me back my bro's wallet, or else." Randy put the wallet in his pocket and pulled out his own knife. "Oh, and what will you do?" Just as he finished the sentence, Jeff popped the kid in the nose. Nice, Jeff. Go for it, Jeff. As Randy reached for his face, Jeff grabbed the kid's wrist and broke it. Jeff, you're insane. Holy shit. Randy screamed and Jeff grabbed the knife from his hand. Troy and Keith rushed Jeff, but Jeff was too quick. He threw Randy to the ground. Keith lashed out at him, but Jeff ducked and stabbed him in the arm. Keith dropped his knife and fell to the ground, screaming. Troy rushed him too. But Jeff didn't even need the knife. He just punched Troy straight in the stomach and Troy went down. As he fell, he puked all over. Liu could do nothing but look in amazement at Jeff. Same here, Liu. Holy shit, Jeff. In 2021 lingo, I would call you poggers. You're quite poggers, Jeff. Holy shit. This copypasta should be renamed Jeff the Poggers. Holy shit, okay. Jeff, where did you learn all these moves? Jeff, how'd you? Was all he said. They saw the bus coming and knew they'd be blamed for the whole thing. So they started running as fast as they could. As they ran, they looked back and saw the bus driver rushing over to Randy and the others. As Jeff and Liu made it to school, they didn't dare tell what happened. All they did was sit and listen. Liu just thought of that as his brother was... Wait, what? Liu just thought of that as his brother beating up a few kids, but Jeff knew it was more. It was something scary. As he got that feeling, he felt how powerful it was, the urge to just hurt someone. He didn't like how it sounded, but he couldn't help feeling happy. He felt that strange feeling go away and stay away for the entire day of school. Even as he walked home due to the whole other thing. What? Even as he walked home due to the whole thing near the bus stop, and how now he probably wouldn't be taking the bus anymore, he felt happy. What? I don't get this sentence. When he got home, his parents asked him how his day was, and he said in a somewhat ominous voice, "It was a wonderful day." Wait, how do I make this ominous? It was a wonderful day. It was a wonderful day. Oh, that sounds nice. Next morning, he heard a knock at his front door. He walked down to find 2 police officers at the door, his mother looking back at him with an angry look. "Jeff? These officers tell me that you attacked 3 kids, that it wasn't a regular fighting, and that they were stabbed." "Stabbed, son!" Jeff's gaze fell to the floor, showing his mother that it was true. "Mom, they were the ones who pulled the knives on me and you." "Son," said one of the cops, "we found 3 kids, 2 stabbed, 1 having a bruise on his stomach, and we have witnesses proving that you fled the scene. Now, what does that tell us?" Hey, cops. Fuck you. Jeff knew it was no use. Oh, his... Damn, Jeff, you're young but you know how the world works already? Nice. Although not that nice. But maybe nice, since you're a badass. He could say him and Liu had been attacked, but there was no proof it was not them who attacked first. They couldn't say that they weren't fleeing because, truth be told, they were. So Jeff couldn't defend himself or Liu. "Son, call down your brother." Jeff couldn't do it since it was he who beat up all the kids. "Sir, it was me. I was the one who beat up the kids. Liu tried to hold me back, but he couldn't stop me." Cop looked at his partner and they both nodded. "Well, kid, looks like a year in juvie." "Wait!" says Liu. They all looked up to see him holding a knife. The officers pulled their guns and locked them on Liu. "It was me. I beat up those little punks. Have the marks to prove it." He lifted up his sleeves to reveal cuts and bruises, as if he was in a struggle. "Liu, you do this for Jeff? I mean, his brother. Liu, you're another pogus as well. You're ride and die. Ride and die? Ride or die. It was, son, just put the knife down, said the officer. Liu held up the knife and dropped it to the ground. He put his hands up and walked over to the cops. No, Liu, it was me. I did it. Jeff had tears running down his face. Huh, poor bro. Trying to take the blame for what I did? Well, take me away. The police led Liu out to the patrol car. Liu, tell them it was me. Tell them. I was the one who beat up those kids. Jeff's mother put her hands on his shoulders. Jeff, please. You don't have to lie. We know it's Liu. You can stop. Jeff watched helplessly as the cop car speeds off with Liu inside. What kind of process is this? Is there no investigation or anything? Well, it is an old story, and it's just a story. So, a few minutes later, Jeff's dad pulled into the driveway, seeing Jeff's face and knowing something was wrong. Son, what is it? Jeff couldn't answer. His vocal cords were strained from crying. Instead, Jeff's mother walked his father inside to break the bad news to him as Jeff wept in the driveway. After an hour or so, Jeff walked back into the house, seeing that his parents were both shocked, sad, and disappointed. He couldn't look at them. He couldn't see how they thought of Liu when it was his fault. He just went to sleep, trying to get the whole thing off his mind. 2 days went by, no word from Liu at JDC. JDC? Juvenile Detention Center? Drawing dance camp? No friends to hang out with. Nothing but sadness and guilt. That is until Saturday, when Jeff is woken up by his mother with a happy, sunshiny face. Jeff, it's a day, she said as she opened up the curtains and let light flood into his room. What? What's the day? Asked Jeff as he stirs awake. Why, it's Billy's party. He was now fully awake. Mom, you're joking, right? You don't expect me to go to some kid's party after... There was a long pause. Jeff, we both know what happened. I think this party could be the thing that brightens up the past days. Now, get dressed. Jeff's mother walked out of the room and downstairs to get ready herself. He fought himself to get up. He picked out a random shirt and a pair of jeans and walked downstairs. He saw his mother and father all dressed up. His mother in a dress and his father in a suit. He thought, why they would ever wear such fancy clothes to a kid's party. Party. Damn the accent, oh, party. Son, is that all you're going to wear? Said Jeff's mom. Better than wearing too much, he said. His mother pushed down the feeling to yell at him and hid it with a smile. Now, Jeff, we may be overdressed, but this is how you go if you want to make an impression, said his father. Jeff grunted and ran back up to his room. I don't have any fancy clothes, he yelled downstairs. Just pick out something, called his mother. He looked around in his closet for what he would call fancy. He found a pair of black dress pants that he had for special occasions and an undershirt. He couldn't find a shirt to go with it though. He looked around and found only striped and patterned shirts, none of which go with dress pants. Finally, he found a white hoodie and put it on. You wearing that? They both said. His mother looked at her watch. Oh, no time to change, let's just go, she said as she herded Jeff and his father out the door. They crossed the street over to Barbara and Billy's house. They knocked on the door and it appeared that Barbara, just like his parents, way overdressed. As they walked inside, all Jeff could see were adults, no kids. Let me drink. Ah, nice water. Remember to hydrate. Hydration check. Oh, posture check, right? Hydration check, posture check. The kids are out in the yard. Oh, sorry. The kids are out in the yard. Jeff, how about you go and meet some of them? Said Barbara. Jeff walked outside to a yard full of kids. They were running around in weird cowboy costumes and shooting each other with plastic guns. He might as well be standing in a Toys R Us. Suddenly, a kid came up to him and handed him a toy gun and hat. Hey. Oh my. I'm about to read this. Hey, wanna play? Hey, wanna play? He said. Oh my god. No kid. I'm way too old for this stuff. The kid looked at him with that weird puppy dog face. Please, said the kid. Fine, said Jeff. He put on the hat and started to pretend shoot at the kids. At first he thought it was totally ridiculous, but then he started to actually have fun. It might not have been super cool, but it was the first time he had done something that took his mind off of Liu. So he played with the kids for a while until he heard a noise. A weird rolling noise. Then it hit him. Randy, Troy, and Keith all jumped over the fence on their skateboards. Jeff dropped a fake gun and ripped off the hat. Randy looked at Jeff with a burning hatred. Hello, Jeff, is it? He said. We have some unfinished business. Jeff saw his bruised nose. I think we're even. I beat the crap out of you, and you get my brother sent to JDC. Randy got an angry look in his eyes. Oh no, I don't go for even. I go for winning. You may have kicked our asses one day, but not today. As he said that, Randy rushed at Jeff. They both fell to the ground. Randy punched Jeff in the nose, and Jeff grabbed him by the ears and headbutted him. Jeff pushed Randy off of him, and both rose to their feet. Kids were screaming, and parents were running out of the house. Troy and Keith both pulled guns out of their pockets. Oh, what? Kids holding guns? Damn, it's crazy out there. Holy crap. No one interrupts, or guts will fly, they said. Randy pulled a knife on Jeff and stabbed it into his shoulder. Jeff screamed and fell to his knees. Randy started kicking him in the face. After 3 kicks, Jeff grabbed his foot and twisted, causing Randy to fall to the ground. Jeff stood up and walked towards the back door. Troy grabbed him. Need some help? He picks Jeff up by the back of the collar and throws him through the patio door. As Jeff tries to stand, he is kicked down to the ground. Randy repeatedly starts kicking Jeff until he starts to cough up blood. Come on, Jeff, fight me! He picks Jeff up and throws him into the kitchen. Randy sees a bottle of vodka on the counter and smashes the glass over Jeff's head. Fight! He throws Jeff back into the living room. Come on, Jeff, look at me! Jeff glances up, his face riddled with blood. I was the one who got your brother sent to JDC. And now you're just gonna sit here and let him rot in there for a whole year? You should be ashamed! Jeff starts to get up. Oh, finally, you stand and fight. Jeff is now to his feet, blood and vodka on his face, and once again he gets that strange feeling. It's his ultra instinct, the one in which he hasn't felt for a while. Finally, it's up, says Randy, and he runs at Jeff. That's when it happens. Something inside of Jeff snaps. His psyche is destroyed. All rational thinking is gone. All he can do is kill. He grabs Randy and pile drives him to the ground. What's a pile drive? He gets on top. He gets on top of him and punches him straight into the... What? He gets on top of him and punches him straight in the heart. What? Jeff. I don't think that's normal, Jeff. Are you alright, Jeff? Are you sure everything's fine? How did you manage to even do that? I have no idea. The punch causes Randy's heart to stop. How? How does that happen? It first not only has to go through the skin, puncture the skin. It has to puncture the ribcage as well. Aren't you just 12 years old, Jeff? Wait, not even the skin, and then like the small piece of muscle that's beneath. Is this muscle or just skin? Let me try feeling myself now. Skin, muscle, and then the rib cage. And then you can finally reach the heart. Even then. Any type of force that can just stop the heart will probably fracture or puncture the rib cage. Seems sus. Unless he really is. Unless Jeff really is built different, then sure. As when he gasps for breath, Jeff hammers down on him. Isn't he dead? His heart has stopped. I guess until the brain dies, then he hasn't died yet. Punch after punch, blood gushes from Randy's body until he takes one final breath and dies. How long is it? Oh, okay, it's not that long more. Everyone is looking at Jeff now. The parents, the crying kids, even Troy and Keith. Although they easily break from their gaze and point their guns at Jeff. Jeff sees the guns trained on him and runs for the stairs. Yeah, well, I don't think kids can aim guns well unless they had like practice. I didn't realize like guns in real life were actually super inaccurate. Well, at least for the normal person. Where was I? Jeff runs up the stairs. He hears Troy and Keith follow up behind. As they let out their final rounds of bullets, Jeff ducks into the bathroom. He grabs the towel rack and rips it off the wall. Troy and Keith race in, knives ready. Knives out? Troy swings his knife at Jeff, who backs away and bangs the towel rack into Troy's face. Troy goes down hard, and now all that's left is Keith. Wait, what? Bangs the towel rack to Troy's face. Towel rack. Okay. He is more agile than Troy though, and ducks when Jeff swings the towel rack. He dropped. Oh, I guess Troy is the fatty. Troy. He dropped the knife and grabbed Jeff by the neck. He pushed him into the wall. A thing of bleach fell down on top of him from the top shelf. It burnt both of them and they both started to scream. Jeff wiped his eyes as best he could. He pulled back the towel rack and swung it straight into Keith's head. As he lay there, bleeding to death, he let out an ominous smile. "What's so funny?" asked Jeff. Keith pulled out a lighter and switched it on. "What's funny?" he said. "Is that you're covered in bleach and alcohol." Jeff's eyes widened as Keith threw the lighter at him. As soon as the flame made contact with him. Is that how lighters work? Pretty sure once you let go of it, it just shuts off. Come on, where's the lore accuracy? Real life lore accuracy. As soon as the flame made contact with him, the flames ignited the alcohol in the vodka. While the alcohol burned him, the bleach bleached his skin. Jeff let out a terrible screech as he caught on fire. He tried to roll out the fire, but it was no use. The alcohol had made him a walking inferno. He ran down the hall and fell down the stairs. Everybody started screaming as they saw Jeff, now a man? Come on, it's a child. Now a man on fire dropped to the ground, nearly dead. The last thing Jeff saw was his mother and other parents trying to extinguish the flame. That's when he passed out. When Jeff woke up, he had a cast wrapped around his face. He couldn't see anything, but he felt the cast on his shoulder, and stitches all over his body. He tried to stand up, but he realized that there was some tube in his arm, and when he tried to get up, it fell out, and a nurse rushed in. "I don't think you can get out of bed just yet," she said as she put him back in his bed and reinserted the tube. Jeff sat there with no vision. No idea of what his surroundings were. Finally, after hours, he heard his mother. "Honey, are you okay?" she asked. Jeff couldn't answer though. His face was covered, and he was unable to speak. "Oh, honey, I have great news. After all the witnesses told the police that Randy confessed of trying to attack you, they decided to let you go." This made Jeff almost bolt up, stopping halfway, remembering the tube coming out of his arm. "He'll be out by tomorrow, and then you two will be able to be together again." Jeff's mother hugs Jeff and says her goodbyes. Is that allowed? I don't think it's allowed for a guy with stitches and cast and like generally injuries all around his body, especially alcohol burns and bleach burns. It's not a good time to be hugging the patient, ma'am. Come on, ma'am. The next couple of weeks were those where Jeff was visited by his family. Then came the day where his bandages were to be removed. His family members were all there to see it, what he would look like. Oof. Sorry, fam. You're not gonna like what you see. As the doctors unwrapped the bandages from Jeff's face, everyone was on the edge of their seats. They waited until the last batch holding the cover over his face was almost removed. "Let's hope for the best," said the doctor. He quickly pulls the cloth, letting the rest fall from Jeff's face. Jeff's mother screams at the sight of his face. "You're a trash parent." Liu and Jeff's dad stare awestruck at his face. What happened to my face?" Jeff said. He rushed out of bed and ran to the bathroom. He looked in the mirror and saw the cause of the distress. His face, it's horrible. His lips were burnt to a deep shade of red. His face was turned to pure white color, and his hair singed from brown to black. "That's not that bad, it's just black hair." He slowly put his hand to his face. He had a sort of leathery feel to it now. He looked back at his family and then back at the mirror. "Jeff," said he, "it's not that bad." "Not that bad?" said Jeff. "It's perfect." His family was equally surprised. Jeff started laughing uncontrollably. His parents noticed that his left eye and hand were twitching. Jeff? Are you okay?" "Okay? I've never felt more happy." Am I supposed to voice this? "Ha ha 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 ha. Look at me. This face goes perfectly with me." He couldn't stop laughing. He stroked his face, feeling it, looking at it in the mirror. What caused this? Well, you may recall that when Jeff was fighting Randy, something in his mind, his sanity snapped. Now he was left as a crazy killing machine. That is, his parents. What's with this twist? I mean, not twist, but like, this phrase. Now he was left as a crazy killing machine. Like, wow, damn, son. You crazy killing machine? Damn, impressed. Crazy. That is, his parents didn't know. "Doctor," said Jeff's mom, "and he's just a kid." I mean, there are crazy kids, but crazy killing machine kids? I don't know about that, Chief. Doctor, said Jeff's mom, is my son alright? You know, in the head. Oh yes, this behavior is typical for patients that have taken very large amounts of painkillers. If his behavior doesn't change in a few weeks, bring him back here and we'll give him a psychological test. Oh, thank you, doctor. Jeff's mother went over to Jeff. Jeff, sweetie, it's time to go. Jeff looks away from the mirror, his face still formed into a crazy smile. Okay, mommy, ha ha ha. His mother took him by the shoulder and took him to get his clothes. This is what came in, said the lady at the desk. Jeff's mom looked down to see the black dress pants and white hoodie her son wore. Now they were clean of blood and now stitched together. Jeff's mother led him to his room and made him put his clothes on. Then they left, not knowing that this was their final day of life. What? What? What do you mean? Spoilers! Jeff, can you tell your parents that they're about to get killed by you? Can you spoil them on their death? That would be great. That would be helpful. Later that night, Jeff's mother woke to a sound coming from the bathroom. It sounded as if someone was crying. She slowly walked over to see what it was. When she looked into the bathroom, she saw a horrendous sight. Jeff had taken a knife and carved a smile into his cheeks. Itayo, Itayo. Don't do that, Jeff. Blocks. Wanna know how I got these scars? My father was a drunk and a fiend. Wait, I want to try to voice that. Hold on. Okay. Joker, my father was a drinker. Quote. This is literally Jeff right now. Okay. Jeff the Joker? Okay. How do I voice? What is his voice like? Right, down here. Oh no! Don't kill me, Disney. You wanna know how I got these scars? My father was a drinker and a fiend. And one night, he goes off crazier than usual. Mommy gets a kitchen knife to defend herself. He doesn't like that. Not one bit. So, me watching, he takes the knife to her, laughing while he does it. He turns to me and he says, "Why so serious?" He comes at me with the knife. "Why so serious?" Wait, no, that's the deeper. "Why so serious?" He sticks the blade in my mouth. "Let's put a smile on that face." And why so serious? Ding. Slashes. Dead. Well, dead. Probably just passed out. Maybe probably dead to the bleeding out. Who knows? Okay. That was a weird tangent, but let's move on. Jeff, what are you doing? Oh shit, my accent came out. Asked his mother. Jeff looked over to his mother. "I couldn't keep smiling, Mummy. It hurt after a while. Now I can smile forever." Jeff's mother noticed his eyes ringed in black. "Jeff, your eyes!" His eyes were seemingly never closing. I couldn't see my face. I got tired and my eyes started to close. I burned out the eyelids so I could forever see myself. My new face. What? Damn, Jeff, you're obsessed with seeing yourself? I can't relate to that. If gone narcissist. I thought you were a bro, Jeff, I guess. I thought you were poggers, but I guess not. Jeff's mother slowly started to back away, saying that her son was going insane. "What's wrong, Mommy? Aren't I beautiful?" "Yes, son," she said. "Yes, you are. Let me go get Daddy, so he can see your face. She ran into the room and shook Jeff's dad from his sleep. Honey, get the gun. She stopped as she saw Jeff in the hallway holding a knife. Mummy, you lied. That's the last thing they hear as Jeff rushes them with a knife, cutting both of them. How does he manage to overpower two adults like that? That ain't no make no sense. Especially his own dad. His brother Liu woke up, startled by some noise. He didn't hear anything else, so he just shut his eyes and tried to go back to sleep. As he was on the border of slumber, he got the strangest feeling that someone was watching him. He looked up before Jeff's hand covered his mouth. He slowly raised the knife, ready to plunge it into Liu. Liu trashed here and there, trying to escape Jeff's grip. Shh, Jeff said, just go to sleep. Oh, it's a reboot? Wait, I immediately went to this before like concluding. Okay, clap, clap. Looking at this from a 2001 perspective, it's I mean, it's kind of weird the way strangers just invite, I'm not strange, neighbors just invite people to a party. And what was the point of them being overdressed for the party? Where was it? Yeah, what's the point of, there was no like, this subplot of the parents being overdressed for the party was not resolved. And like, weird kids that wanted to play with them, and then suddenly the Randy just coming over and picking a fight. Yes, please, wanna play, please. It's funny. Yeah, and how does, well, how did these two kids get a gun? I guess, I mean, it's, guessing where it's based at, it's not that surprising, especially back then, I guess. And then, yeah, the cops not trusting the kid that confessed, and like having no proper procedure. I guess the kids, they technically don't have rights. Yeah, I don't know about that, but... And then the dress mother hugs. I don't think they can actually even do that. They shouldn't do that, because it's got to be painful, right? This was super funny. Now he was left as a crazy killing machine. Like, whoa, Jeff? Are you alright, Jeff? And then, yeah, I mean, he's really insane. I mean, it's insane. Yes, something snapped when Randy tried to attack him. I can accept this change in Jeff. He burned out his eyelids. What the fuck? Yeah, why do you kill your own bro? Come on. Your bro took one for the team and then you just do him like this? Come on. Come on, man. Alright. This isn't that long, right? Bedtime funk. Bedtime funk. Is this long? Let's see. Looks kinda long. What about this? This looks kinda short. Yeah, okay. Publishers note influencers. Whoa. Okay, this is where it is. Here comes Zelgo. Okay, this isn't long as well. Oh, did I burp? Was it caught on the mic? Alright, let's close Jeff the Killer. Let's do Eyeless Jack. We can stop at in 23 minutes, I guess. Maybe I'll finish this too. Hello, my name is Mitch, and I'm here to tell you guys about an experience I had. I don't know if it was paranormal or whatever stupid words people use to describe supernatural phenomena, but after that thing visited me, I believe in that paranormal trash now. A week after I moved in with my brother, Edwin, after my house was foreclosed, I finished unpacking. Edwin liked the idea of me moving in, since we had not seen each other for 10 years, so I was excited too. I soon fell asleep after I moved in. After that first week, I heard rustling noises coming from outside at about 1 in the morning. I thought it was a raccoon, so I ignored it and tried to fall asleep. Raccoon? The next morning, I told Edwin about it, and he agreed. The next night, however, I thought I heard my window opening and a loud thump, as if something entered my room. I darted up and looked around my room, but I saw nothing. The next morning, Edwin dropped his coffee cup when he saw me. He held up a nearby mirror, and I saw myself. I had a large gash in my left cheek. You didn't feel that, bro? After I was rushed to the hospital, my doctor told me that I must have been sleepwalking. But then he showed me something that made my blood turn cold. He lifted up my shirt to reveal a sewn-up incision where my kidneys were. I stared into his eyes, mind widening. You somehow lost your left kidney last night. Somehow? Really, somehow? We don't know how though, sorry Mitch. At this point, contact the fucking police or something, I don't know. Don't just say sorry, what the hell? Oh, I'm sorry, you somehow left your you somehow lost your left kidney. Oops, too bad. You just gotta deal with it. I'm sorry. Sorry, Mitch. The next... Okay, let's move on. The next night was my breaking point. Around midnight, I woke up to see a truly horrifying sight. I was staring face to face with a creature with a black hoodie and dark blue mask with no nose or mouth staring down at me. The thing that scared me the most was that it had no eyes, just empty, black sockets. The creature also had some black substance dripping from its sockets. I grabbed a camera from the nearby mantel and took a picture. Immediately after taking the shot, the creature lunged at me and tried to claw open my chest to get to my lungs. I stopped it by kicking it in the face. As I ran out of my room, I grabbed my wallet. I would need the money. I ran out of my brother's house into the night. Why didn't you go to your brother's room? I eventually ended up in the woods near Edwin's house and tripped on the rock. Edwin? Wait, what? Brother? Yeah, a week after I moved in with my brother Edwin. After my house was foreclosed. Alright. Wait, you use brother here and then use Edwin? What's this consistency? I ran out of my brother's house into the night. I eventually ended up in the woods near Edwin, my brother's house, and tripped on the rock. I fell unconscious and woke up in the hospital. My doctor, the same one who treated me before, entered the room. I have good news and bad news, Mitch. That's how you start? You don't address the whole... Where were you? What happened? The good news is that you had minor injuries and your parents are going to pick you up. I sighed with relief. The bad news is that your brother has been killed by some thing. Sorry. What kind of garbage ass doctor is this? Are you kidding me? Hello? My parents took me back to Edwin's house to collect my remaining belongings, which I did. That's the first thing you do? Upon entering my room, I was scared, but remained calmed. I grabbed my camera and then stopped dead in my tracks. In the hallway leading to my room, I saw Edwin's body and something small lying to it. Something small lying next to it. I retrieved it up and entered my parents' car, not mentioning Edwin's corpse. I looked at the thing I had picked up and nearly vomited. I was holding my stolen half-eaten kidney with some black substance on it. Wait, what? You picked up the thing and then brought it to your parents' car before looking at it. Come on, man. The image of a malevolent hooded character is a common trope in folklore. Folklore? Okay, well, Green Reaper is hooded. Yeah, okay, sure. El Kokoi, universal boogeyman figure present in most cultures. El Coco. Eyeless Jack. So where did the Jack come from? And where did the eyeless come from? Organ theft. Okay. I see. Here he comes, Zalgo, written by Chris Phoenix. Okay. Well, my feelings on this, I mean, sure. I guess, I mean, to be honest, I don't get as scared as I do anymore if you compare it to when I was younger. Basically, I rarely get shocked, but not scared. Okay, the only time that I got scared. Okay, wait, not scared, but the only recent time that I felt terror was when I played Outer Wilds, and I went into Giant's Deep. That experience was like, being there was like kind of like imagining myself to be in the position of the astronauts in Interstellar when they landed on Miller's planet. Not Miller. Miller's planet? Miller's, right? Yeah, Miller's planet, where the whole planet was death trap. Where, the mountains. Those are the mountains. The waves. Wait, that's the wrong song. But yeah. And yeah, that wasn't even a horror game, and not really focused on horror, but that really, it gave me terror. And not really horror, but my terror. When it comes to horror though, I don't really get invested into it anymore. I don't know why. Maybe there needs to be something to invest. You know what? I'll probably try one of the more popular Amnesia modded stories. I mean, if it's like a 10 out of 10 on the modded stories, like the mod page or something, it should be good, right? Like, normally people who rate 10 out of 10 don't rate it just because it's like, it's filled with like good jump scares, but because it's like the story is good, the voice acting or whatever is good, the flow is good, the terror or the horror elements are not cheap. That's how people usually rate when it comes to that. Like, if it's just a good game with jump scares, people probably don't rate it. They just enjoy it and then they just leave it as it is. They don't give a review. Okay, well, I think I talked a bit for too long. Let's read He Comes, Zalgo. Wow. Hello, Omega Poggers man. Welcome here. Whoa, wait, what happened to my text? Hold up. Welcome, Omega Poggers man. Let me refresh my text. Interesting, what's interesting? Okay, there's probably this delay, so I don't know what you're talking about. Chat. Okay, looks like it. Okay. How was your meeting? Was it corporate? Thanks for being your fave streamer. Wait, thanks for being your... That doesn't sound right in terms of phrasing. Thanks. Thank you that I am your favorite streamer. Wait, what's the correct way to say it? Oh, English. I appreciate that you think of me as a favorite. Wait, my take on the game? What game? Amnesia? Or like Outer Wilds? I have some hot takes. Well, not really. I don't usually do hot takes. Ayo LeMayo, nice. I love corporate. Hashtag corporate. So, wait. Okay, for today's meeting, let's be poggers. Okay, I'm gonna start reading. He comes. Kakko Zalgo. Amnesia, the Dank Descent. I'll I'll play one of the one of the most popular modded Amnesia games. Try to get it. Because the original, I guess it was scary, but like the protagonist, I was too pissed off by the protagonist to be sympathetic in his horror adventures in the game. Yeah, this chat. I took quite a while to figure out how it works. Apparently, the Stream Elements, this thing that I'm using, doesn't really work, so I had to find an alternate way to display this chat. But it works, so nice. Hey, wait, let's go. Forgive the length of this message. This is the first and possibly the last time I'll have access to a computer. So I thought I'd better write this all down while I can and get it to those who should know. I'm leaving town. I don't know where I'm going. I'm just getting as far away as I can. Okay, so as some of you may know, I took out a loan and opened my own auto shop a little over a year ago. Business has been going decently well, I can't complain, and I've always been grateful to all of my customers who would come to me exclusively when God knows there's so many already established places in town. Yo, that sounds like that sounds like someone has their favorite streamer, but instead of streamer, it's a mechanic. I've been doing well enough that I was able to hire on my buddy Neil a few months ago, and he's always been working hard and helping out really well, as I always knew he would. Well, I needed to take a day and go to Lamaze. What's this? What's Lamaze? Class with Rebecca last month, and so I entrusted the shop to Neil for the morning and most of the afternoon. That's the day I think everything actually started, because when I got back, he seemed to be in a stupor and was covered in oil. Ew. He'd even had some smeared across his face, as if he'd tried to drink it or something. I told him to go home and clean himself up because we had no clients at the moment, and I could take care of anyone who came in for the time being. Okay, wait a while. Okay. He came back 45 minutes later, but he was still much quieter than usual. He worked as well as he ever did, but something just seemed off about him. I asked him if anything happened while I was out, and he just shook his head. I asked how many clients we had, and he just muttered something unintelligible. I asked him to repeat himself, and he turned on and glared at me, and for the briefest moment I could have swore his eyes appeared to be completely black. No iris, no sclera, just utter, all-consuming blackness. I stumbled back and bumped off a shelf, knocking things down. When I looked back at him, he was still looking at me. But he didn't seem to be glaring hatefully the way he had been before. He just seemed kind of out of it. Just a couple, he answered. Some woman, and then a tattooed biker type. Some woman, and then a tattooed biker type looking dude. I assumed one of them must ask for an oil change, and that's when he spilled it. So I asked if he had any trouble and he simply shrugged. I had looked around the garage while he was gone, and I saw no traces of an oil spill. So whatever had happened, he must have gotten it all on himself and none of it anywhere else, miraculously. But he seemed reluctant to talk about it, so I didn't press the issue. And we worked hard on throughout the day. That day and the next were relatively normal, other than him still being awkward and quiet. I asked him if he'd like to go out and get us lunch while I tended the shop, and he said, sure. Wait, I kind of lost the plot. Is this a new guy? Neil, oh, wait. Oh, my buddy Neil, okay. Awkward and quiet, but he's your friend though. He's your buddy. Why is it awkward and quiet? Okay, moving on. When he came back, I was busy doing a diagnostic for a client, so he put the food on the counter in the office to wait for me, and he went ahead and ate. I finished up with the customer. We'd have to keep her car overnight to figure out just why it kept dying on her. So I asked Neil to give her a ride home, and then when I went to grab my food, he'd brought me some Chinese food and an iced tea, so I opened the soy sauce packets to pour some over my food when I noticed the strangest thing. Oh, I saw the word tea, and if I remember, I have tea right in front of me. Let me drink. Ah, nice. It was as if the soy sauce was a living thing somehow, spreading out like dozens of squirming, inky black maggots when it fell into the fried rice and burying itself inside. Oh, that doesn't sound nice. I took the fork and started to scoop out the rice to look deeper inside, and small, smoky tendrils would rise up from the rice occasionally and dissipate. I was incredibly hungry at that point, but I was way too creeped out to eat that, so I chucked it and the iced tea in the garbage and decided I'd just wait till I got home that evening to eat something I'd prepared with my own hands. I had never in my life seen anything remotely like that, and I couldn't even fathom how I would ask Neil if he'd noticed anything similar. As cold and distant as he'd been lately, I was sure he'd looked at me like I was Looney Tunes, so I just shut up about it. That Friday we went down to the old watering hole as we always do to get some drinks, drinks, and watch the local bands play, and Neil was just as quiet and distant as he had been all week. He's not a bad looking fellow though, and so despite him not really going out of his way to speak to anyone, a woman went over to where he was sitting and started talking to him, and they ended up living together that night. Whoa! My man Neil. He's a playa. He's a guy ma. And they ended up living together that night. Monday morning. Monday morning, rain is falling. That's the wrong day of the week. Monday morning, I tried breaking the ice by asking how his weekend went. He gave me a nod and muttered, "Alright." I asked him if he got lucky with that young woman I saw him with, and he gave me the smallest grin. Whoa, Neil! Which was quite possibly the first grin I'd seen on his face in a week. And said, it went well. I didn't pressure him for details. I knew he'd share if he chose to. And his small grin was enough to assuage my worries and lend me some hope that he might get back to his old self soon. Oh, so he kind of changed when he started working for you. The day was relatively busy until about 3 p.m. So I finally had a spare moment to sit in the office and listen to the radio while I waited on the next client. So there I was, leaning back in my chair with my feet propped up on my desk, when I swiveled around and looked at my bulletin board that sits behind my head with all manner of clippings stuck to it. I had a few Sunday comic strips, such as Garfield and Calvin and Hobbes, that I'd read maybe 100 times since I'd opened shop there, but that day, something was different. The first panel seemed normal, but in each subsequent panel, inky black tendrils crept out from the pages of the frame, and from behind the characters, blood dripped from the ears and eyes, and sometimes even their noses. And in each of the strips, one of the characters will say, "He comes." I sat staring in astonishment for a moment before I realized tendrils were moving ever so slowly. And then each of the characters' heads turned ever so slowly towards me, and I threw myself back away from the bulletin board, sliding over my desk and onto the floor. I ran out into the garage and yelled for Neil. I could not be the only one to see this. To my surprise, he had gone, and so I hesitantly walked back to the office and peered inside. The comics were still corrupted, but they no longer appeared to be moving. I crept over to it and reached out to pluck one of the comics free when I noticed the inky black tendrils starting to sip across the page towards where my fingers were at least 3 times as fast as they'd moved before, and I jerked my hand away. Nothing good could possibly come from letting that block of ink touch my skin. Of course, I ripped the entire bulletin board down, burned it in a tin trash can out back, and never spoke of it again. That night, I went home and my wife was already in bed, fast asleep. My mind was racing and I couldn't even bring myself to eat dinner that night. With no one to vent my worries to, I fell into a restless sleep and kept awaking to nightmare after nightmare, seemingly every hour of the night, until I just gave up on sleep entirely. Let me drink. That Friday I went to the bar again, even though my wife couldn't drink, being pregnant and all. And Neil wasn't really any fun to hang with anymore, and none of my other friends could seem to be reached. I just needed to get a good buzz and I'd start feeling better, I reckoned. After downing a couple of beers, I excused myself to the restroom when I noticed I was more inebriated than I'd estimated. So I leaned over the sink to splash some water onto my face, and that's where I heard it. Like a sheet of fabric being dragged across the floor, a voice rasped ever so quietly out of the drain. It sounded like a prolonged exhale for the longest time, until I finally recognized words hidden amongst all those vowels. He comes. You're like getting buzzed too? Oh, can you? Can you though? So what's your favorite beer? What's your favorite buzz? Is it light year? Cracks appeared in the snaking out from the ring around the drain. At least, they looked like cracks at first, but after a few seconds I recognized them as the same tendrils of corruption I'd seen in the comics earlier that week, snaking their way along. I stumbled backwards out of the bathroom door and right into someone's chest. I turned around and stared up into the pitch black eyes of a 6 and a half-foot biker with tattoos covering every piece of exposed skin besides his hand and head. I stumbled quickly away from him and his evil piercing gaze followed me as I retreated through the bar. It felt like a dream, where whenever you're running for your life, it feels like running through quicksand. As I walked across the room, I noticed the biker wasn't the only one staring at me. It seemed every pair of eyes in the place were focused on me, and more than half of those eyes appeared to be perfectly black, with no hint of iris or sclera. A few lips moved, and though I couldn't hear their voices over the sound of the jukebox, I could easily guess what they were saying. "He comes!" I didn't get a wink of sleep that night. I haven't been getting much sleep for the past couple of weeks, as a matter of fact, which I'm guessing those of you who've spoken to me recently could have guessed. I keep seeing those pitch black eyes staring at me. I'm afraid everyone I see will turn black and whisper those words to me, staring deep into my soul with that evil glare. Every time I go near a sink or go to grab a bite to eat, I'm afraid I'll see those inky, snaking tendrils squiggling towards me. Even my wife has seemed cold and distant lately. Then tonight, as I'm driving home from work, struggling to keep my eyes open so that I don't drift into oncoming traffic, my cell phone rang and it was Rebecca. Who's Rebecca? Is it your side B? No, right? Oh wait, that's his wife. My bad. She was on her way to the hospital to have our baby, and for the first time in 2 weeks, I was actually happy. She was in the labor room strapped to a monitor when I got there, watching for her contractions. She barely noticed when I walked in, but didn't seem startled when I sat down beside her and took her hand in mine. I tried talking to her, but she was unresponsive, and I was so tired that I didn't even realize I had started to drift off to my sleep until the nurses came in and started moving her to the delivery room about a half hour later. I put on my scrubs and a hairnet and went in with her to hold her hand and coach her through like they trained us in Lamas, when she started cursing and screamed, "Whoa." What? What was censored? Wait. Check the link down below. There's a donation link if you'd like to donate. I want to see if it actually works. Wow, really, David Attenborough? Damn, that's some high praise, fam. Like, I appreciate for that. Wait, I appreciate for that? That's wrong. I appreciate that. I was prepared for that, as well as her ever-tightening grip on my hand. But when I saw the movement in her tummy, my mind started to reel. The doctor said the baby was crowning and told her to push. I echoed his orders, and she screamed at me with a voice I couldn't even begin to describe. When I looked down at her, she was staring up at me with those same eyes I'd seen on the biker. The same eyes I thought I'd seen on Neil weeks before. I tried to jerk my hand away, but she maintained her grip. Black tar-like blood splashes the front of the doctor's scrubs, but he seemed to pay no heed. When I looked at her tummy again, black veins seemed to stand out beneath her skin, pulsating. She continued to stare at me, and she was no longer screaming, just grinning, those obsidian eyes boring into me. To invoke the Nesperdian hive mind of chaos. What? She breathed in a raspy voice. What? Nesperdian hive mind of chaos. is that? He who waits behind the wall. Wait, what? The doctor continued as he stared down at the child. My child, lying silently, cradled in his blood-stained hands. He looked up and raised the baby, and it appeared to be covered in oozing, inky black liquid, much like that had covered Neil a couple weeks prior. It did not cry out, but it was alive, and it moved when he held it up. When its eyes opened, they were as black as my wife's, as black as the doctor's. In unison, they all breathed his name. Dalgo! Wait, how do I say this? Dalgo! It's a nice try. I ripped my hand free of my wife's iron grip and stumbled out of the room, barreling into the nurses passing in the corridor just outside. When I stood up and looked back into the room, I could see the inky black tendrils seeming to extend from the doctor and my newborn, across the floor to where I stood. I turned and ran down the hall to the elevator and slammed my finger into the buttons. When I looked back, the tendrils had come into the hallway, yet no one else seemed to notice until it slithered over their feet and up their legs. At which point they abruptly stopped, turned and looked at me with those same obsidian eyes. I abandoned my effort to call the elevator and broke into a panicked run for the stairs. I ran down the 15 flights of stairs and all the way to the lobby, tore ass out into the parking lot, hopped in my car and started driving. I didn't know where the fuck I was going. I just had to get out, get the fuck away from there. I don't know if I'm going crazy, it certainly seems like it. But I just can't be around anyone I know anymore. They all have those same eyes and those same dead stares, and even my child. Oh god, my baby. I still saw those eyes staring at me from the cars beside me, and by some strange coincidence, the same biker from the previous Friday night at the bar pulled up beside me an hour away from the hospital and followed me for nearly 2 miles. He turned and stared at me, grinning. What the hell? I couldn't see his eyes through his sunglasses this time, but I knew it was the same guy. His tattoos seemed to move of their own free will. The flaming skull on his right bicep began bleeding from its eye sockets. As soon as I could, I slammed on my brakes, allowing him to fly past me as I swerved to my left and did a U-turn. Swerve to your left and did a U-turn? Oh, I guess it's a different... Yeah, they drive on the right. Right? I think I lost him. That was about an hour ago. I'm at a motel 3 hours out of town. First place I found that has Wi-Fi, and I'm tired, and I'm shaking. And my hand itches where my wife's nails scratched me open. I honestly don't know what to do, or who I can turn to. The story will sound insane, and I'll probably be institutionalized, and I'm not sure that wouldn't be the best thing for me. But I just can't bear to look into those eyes anymore. Every time I see someone new and they stare at me, I start to panic because I just know it's out there looking for me. Whatever it is. I tried to do sound effect, kind of failed. And even when I lay down and start to drift off to sleep, I hear those words. He comes. Yeah, it is supposed to. Is it not showing up? Oh no. Hold on. Let me do this thing first then. Cool sound effects. Hold on. No, why is it not working? Let me remove this. and add it again. Samesies. Hold on. See my description. Yeah, I needed something to test. Let's see. Let's not working. Oh, what happened? Is it? Oh, is it not showing? Damn. Guess I have to test it some way, somehow. This is the end of He Comes. I've already read Ida's Jack. What's this bedtime? Oh, this is the kind of long one. Oh, I don't know how. Damn. But I don't see it on the stream elements page though. I think name should show up if it's on the stream elements page. Well, I don't see anything showing up on my PayPal, so I don't know where the problem is. I should just tip to myself, you know. August. Pay now. See if it shows up. not showing up. No. What's going on? All transactions. Let's see that. Oh, okay, wait. Okay, wait. Login. Not me. Let me try to fix this. Wait, what? PayPal. Please let me log in. Wait, PayPal. Very well. I will try to resolve this on my own later, but I think I will stop now unless there is something else that someone wants me to read, then I can read that. So just let me know. If not, then I will stop now. Okay. Just let me know. Okay, then. What? What do you mean? Bro. Okay, well, I'll go now. Thanks for coming to watch my creepypasta reading stream. Utsukazu. Bye bye.